Hey, good morning, everybody. It's time for Morning Manna, and you already know I got a word for you on this morning in this beautiful space that I find myself in on this morning. Man, it's a wonderful space on a pastor retreat, leading my pastors that are in my network under my covering. And so I said, well, you know what? Before I shut it all down, I'm going to give a morning manna, and then I'm going to be speaking into their lives, imparting into their lives, and taking some time off for myself. How about that? So let me greet some people, and then we're going to get into the word. What a wonderful space I'm in right now. We're going to talk about space here in a minute. Greet a few people, and then get right at it. Good morning, Pamela. How are you on this morning? Brenda, how are you on this morning? Vicki, how are you on this morning? Good morning, Anna. How are you on this morning? Barbara, how are you guys on this morning? Gloria, how are you? Angela, how are you on this morning? Elder Mobley, how are you doing on this morning? Of course, you know we're praying for you and those situations. Look, you already know that I mentioned and I prayed and I preached on Sunday about the church connection. And essentially, I was talking about how we come together, how we need to be connected. Well, I'm extending that and having conversation this morning about MySpace. MySpace, if you remember that social media platform that is no longer in existence, it's in extinction now. Nobody talks about MySpace. If you remember that, put that in the chat area, and then man, we're gonna jump right into it on this morning. Good morning, Elder Jan. How are you? Betty, how are you on this morning? Francine, what are you doing watching this morning? You're supposed to be chilling with me, Elder Hayes, and all of us here on this morning. But do you guys remember? You remember MySpace? You remember MySpace? Well, I'm in the wonderful space of Hilton Head and at a retreat. And I've called all of my pastors under my covering to just come and chill with me and let me speak into their lives. And then we all just try to get some relaxation as well. Well, if you remember that, it says, okay, Angela, you remember, did you have an account with MySpace? That's the next question. Did you have an account with MySpace? Vicki, did you have one? Betty, how are you? You said you're doing well. Brother Nesbitt, did you have an account with MySpace? MySpace, I remember so well when my daughter went to college 100 years ago. Not that long, of course not. But when I went to college, when she went to college, and she had MySpace, and then she came back with Facebook. And her generation created Facebook, but it grew out of MySpace. It grew out of MySpace. Well, let's get with it this morning, and let's deal with my posse in MySpace. My posse in MySpace. The text to talk, the takeaway, 5 minutes or less. And here's the text. Luke 6:12 through 16. Now, we're not going to read the whole thing, but let me give you a paraphrase of what is being said in this text. In this text, in the 12th verse, in the next verse after that, Jesus goes up into the mountain to pray. In the next verse, he picks his posse. He picks the guys that he says, I want you to be in my space. I want you to be in my space. He picks 12 that he wants to be in his space. And there's three things that I think we should learn from this text as to how Jesus picks those that's going to ride or die with him. The first thing is he prayed beforehand. He prayed beforehand. You know, I think it's very important that when we begin to consider people coming so close to us, as I am here with my pastors, is that I need to then have a filter of prayer, a filter of prayer. The second thing is, how do I determine who's going to be in my space, my posse? Then look at it in this way. Are they some of the first people I would think about when I'm in fear? When I'm in fear, the first people that you think about being in your space that will bring comfort, that would bring you strength, that's the person that you want. Now, let me expand a little bit about what Jesus is doing. During the biblical times, there will be parents that would bring their children to the rabbis and would want them to pick them to be a part of their disciples. Jesus is not the only one that had disciples. And what they would do, they would bring them there, and that's why we have that text of saying, suffer the little children and forbidden them not, for such is the kingdom of heaven. What he is saying is they would bring them to them. This is, will you pick, Rabbi, will you pick my child to be in your space? And so here is Jesus now, who is picking guys who had been rejected. They never had a rabbi, the people that he's about to pick. Therefore, he is praying and he's about to pick them to be in his space. He prayed for people in fear. That's why when he looked for them to come and be with them when he was about to lose his life, those are the people that he picked. Here's the third thing I want you to grab. Kind of long, but the third thing that I need you to grab is who's always in your space. When you look up, who are the people who always find themselves either by invitation or on their own solicitation? They always find themselves in your space. They always find themselves in your space. What's your takeaway this week? Your takeaway is this. Grab this. Who's your ride or die prayer partner? Who is your ride or die prayer partner? Because that's who should be in your space. That's who should be in your space. Well, hey, I'm in a wonderful space with some great people that I'm about to share with, and it's some impartation on this morning. They're waiting on me actually right now. I'll see you tomorrow morning with more morning. God bless you. Share the man. Don't keep it to yourself.